totally different topic. The talk of the golf world is this book excerpt that came out about Phil Mickelson. I'm curious what the reaction in there was when you read about it.
I mean, at least he can bet on the Ryder Cup this year because he won't be a part of it. So
here we go again. Phil gambling everybody's life savings away. Or is he? Or does it matter? We're going to dive into this wild story that I think is absolutely ridiculous. But before we do, thanks for listening. Grateful for everybody who is stopping by the podcast channel. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss anything we get out there, because we're dropping podcasts anytime breaking news in the golf world occurs, whether it's pro golf, social media golf, whatever. We're here. We're here for you. We're here for each other, you and me together. Please subscribe. Okay, Billy Walters is releasing his new book. Now, he is a world famous, I guess, gambler. He's known as a big time gambler. So he has a book coming out, and he dedicates a portion of it. I don't know if he dedicated a portion, but there's a portion of it that talks about Phil Mickelson. I always wonder why people have to write books about other people. I don't get that. I think I get it. They want to sell books. Somebody else recently wrote a book about Phil Mickelson, the unauthorized biography of Phil Mickelson. Like, to me, that's just messed up. I think that just totally violates the rules of life. How do you write a book about somebody that they don't approve of, and then they don't say any of it's true, and you're just trying to make money off somebody else? Write a book about you. Write your book, and maybe leave out the information about other people where you're outing them. That I don't like. Now, I might go read this book when it comes out August 22nd. So that could be an interesting read. But I'm more interested in just the life of a gambler. Like, to me, that's interesting. Could be a good read. I'm not much of a gambler, so I don't necessarily relate to it. But I think some of this stuff is an interesting story. So on one hand, the stories about Phil, although interesting, and yes, we're talking about it here for a different reason. I think it's interesting, but I just don't like the fact that people are making money selling a product off of somebody else, really kind of hurting somebody else and tarnishing their reputation while you profit. Now, you could tarnish your own reputation all you want. And if Phil released a book about him and all the stuff he did, I think that'd be pretty cool, and I would read that and support him or whatever, right? Because that would be first person. That's something I'd get into. But I guess we're talking about it, so I'm kind of doing the same thing, but in a different way. I think what Rory did goes beyond anything. And I think Rory is just, man, like I've been a Rory fan for so long, but man, he's really, over the last year or so, he's just kind of come across in a different way. And it's either, his true colors are being revealed of who he is, and that's how he always was, or he was really jaded, or the PGA Tour has their hooks in him and they're kind of leading him and prodding him to do certain things. And it just doesn't work for who he is. And I want to like the guy because he's such a great golfer. And I like his style, his swagger, his on-course demeanor, what he did recently, and just kind of his focus at recent tournaments, just to stay away from social media and not talk about stuff. I really appreciated that. Well, these excerpts come out about this book and about how Phil wanted to place a $400,000 bet during the 2012 Ryder Cup. Medina, where we were up by so much. Well, he apparently, according to Walters, the guy who wrote the book, he wanted to place a $400,000 bet that the U.S. would win the Ryder Cup. Okay, so now Billy Walters said he told Phil, "What? This is ridiculous. You can't do this. You've heard of Pete Rose. You can't go gamble on your own sport when you're playing. Like, that violates everything. So Phil's like, whatever, fine. And he doesn't place a bet through him. But Billy Walters doesn't know if Phil placed a bet or not. So we don't know. I don't know. Phil knows. But the U.S. lost the Ryder Cup. So whatever bet he put on him, he would have lost if he had bet on the U.S. So now, then they ask Rory in a press conference about this. And he says, well, Phil, he could bet on the Ryder Cup this year because he won't be playing. And like, there's no laughter except Rory's laughter.
Totally different topic. The talk of the golf world is this book excerpt that came out about Phil Mickelson. I'm curious what the reaction in there was when you read about it.
I mean, at least he can bet on the Ryder Cup this year because he won't be a part of it. So.
And you just couldn't help but think, like, Phil had made comments like, hey, I had a problem gambling and I've gotten help, and, I've gotten through that. It was whatever, like, he had gotten help. And so if Phil was an alcoholic and somebody said, oh, he used to drink, 2 bottles of vodka every day during the Ryder Cup, and then Phil's like, well, I've since cleaned up and I've gotten help. I don't do that anymore. And somebody asked Rory, like, well, what'd you think about Phil drinking vodka, 2 bottles of vodka during the Ryder Cup? And then what if Rory says, well, he could drink all the vodka he wants now because he's not playing. Ha ha. Like, you wouldn't make a joke about alcohol to a former alcoholic. That would be ridiculous. How insensitive and that's just not right. So why would you do the same thing and make a similar joke to a guy who struggled with a gambling addiction? You're just making fun of a guy's like, we think, oh, you're a dude, you gamble a lot, and therefore you're just a dude who loses and gambles a lot of money. Like, or are you addicted to it? Like, it's an addiction. And here you are teasing a guy and making light of it and fun of him on national television and saying he could, now he could do it. Ha 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 ha, because you're not here. And I hope Zach Johnson picks Phil Mickelson to play in the dang Ryder Cup because of this. Like, get in there. And I put him up against Rory and say, let's go. I'd call Phil, do you want to play in the Ryder Cup? Because I don't like what he said. It was uncool. That crossed the line, and you're going to play him in singles match. How about that? How about that, Rory? Like, that's what you deserve here in my book. Man, like, that comment is total, like, that goes, like, you may have an enemy, but, like, I don't ever wish my enemy dies or, like, something horrible happens to them physically or to their family. Like, I would never, ever do that. And that's almost what this is like. Like, you're making fun of somebody's struggle, their addiction. Like, you don't know what it did to him. You don't know what it did to his family. You don't know what kind of situations it put him in. You don't know what his kids suffered through because of what he did or didn't. You don't know anything. All you did was make fun of a guy and take a jab at him. And when somebody writes a book about him that it may or may not be true, it's a one-sided story. Phil has just said, hey, like, and he said, I didn't gamble like on like what that, or he said, I didn't gamble on the Ryder Cup. Maybe he wanted to, maybe he didn't. We don't know. But to tease a guy, Rory, that was out of bounds, Rory. I want to know what you guys think, because that to me is off limits. I don't care how much, personally, I don't care how much Phil gambles. Do what you want. You want to play Baccarat? Go ahead, play Baccarat. I don't care. Gamble all your money away. I don't care. I don't even care if you bet on a sport that you're playing in. I don't personally care. I don't think, Pete Rose, do your thing. As long as you're not betting against your team. If he bet against the Americans and then threw his match, well, that's a different story. Then no, gloves off. It's go time. But he never did that. At least we don't know. That wasn't the rumor. The rumor was that he's betting on himself. Personally, I don't care if you bet on yourself. Go bet on yourself. put up or shut up. Like, put some money on the line. I'm down with that. I don't care if you bet $1 billion is what they're saying. He bet $1 billion. They're saying at one point he was betting 9 bets a day during the course of like 2011, 12, 14, whatever year it was. 9 bets a day. They said he would bet 110,000 to win 100,000. That's not, I mean, okay. You obviously are not making sense of mathematics here because it didn't work. You're not going to win, right? Or maybe you could have won, but you lost money every time. And that's what's going to happen. You all know this. So you're betting tons of money. You're not going to win. It's just whatever fueled him was an addiction. I care about somebody's addiction. I don't care if you gamble. Gamble all your money. I don't care. It means nothing to me. Do your thing. Have a good time. You do you. Because that doesn't affect me. But I'm not going to tease a guy with a problem. If you want to gamble on whatever, go do your thing. Have a good time. What Rory did to me, out of bounds because of it, as a penalty. I'm Zach Johnson. Phil's on the team, or he's at least an assistant captain, and he's going to just be around the Rory group nonstop. Every match that Rory plays, Phil's out there riding in the cart, sitting right next to him. I would have him out there, at least as an assistant captain, but I'd play that guy. I'd put him in the lineup. Phil's playing pretty good. That would just be a jab at Rory, just to, now we're even. That's what I would do. What would you do? Thanks for listening. Good luck out there. Keep the gambling under control. If you need to get help, get some help. Take care. See you soon.